She was admitted to the hospital during childbirth. But what happened next was predicted. An experienced doctor, a prompt nurse, and a ready delivery room. Originally, it was just for a regular delivery. Until something weird and unexplainable happens. Everything has changed. What they found next. The whole team was blown away, and even began to question all their perceptions of life. That morning, everything seems normal in the hospital. The white hallways echoed with footsteps and conversations. Suddenly, the automatic door was pushed open with a thud. Mara, a 35-year-old woman, staggered in. His hands clutched her massive belly. His face turned pale, like wax. Sweat dripped down his forehead like beads. The eyes rolled involuntarily in intense pain. Every step he takes, amniotic fluid runs down the legs. Small puddles are formed on smooth floors. "I need help. My baby is about to be born," he screamed. The voice was filled with pain and despair, echoed through the hall like thunder. Just arrived at the hospital, ready to start a shift change. Experienced Andrew Lee, carrying a school bag. "I haven't had time to change into my uniform yet." Hear him shouting. Immediately stopped. His eyes widened. Witnessed the chaos in front of him. Mara looked like she was about to fall. The body was shaking violently. It seems to collapse at any moment. Dr. Andrew Lee's instincts overcame surprise. Grabbed the stretcher. He turned and shouted urgently. The voice was as sharp as a knife's edge. Nurse Katie, a competent and decisive professional nurse, quickly ran over, pushing a stretcher. The stretcher made a screeching sound. Dr. Andrew Lee walked up to Mara. Rapid heartbeat. Katie pushed the stretcher closer. "We need to hurry. Otherwise, he would have been born in the hall," he cautioned, nervous and serious. There was no hesitation. They carefully lifted Mara up. But he let out a violent moan. Hands clutched at the stomach. Fingers seemed to sink into the tight skin. His groans, mixed with intense physical pain and fear, as if there was something in the body, struggling to break. As soon as I put it on the stretcher, the crowd began to push towards the delivery room. Footsteps echoed in the hallway with a rush and frenzy. Suddenly, however, the stretcher stopped. Trembling, Dr. Andrew Lee frowned. Confused, looked down at the situation. "What's going on?" he muttered to himself. Katie lowered her head as well. They were all dumbfounded. A large, sturdy dog appeared in front of them. Smooth black hair shimps in the light. The teeth gripped the metal frame of the stretcher. A low growl. Aggressive. It's almost creepy. In his eyes. With an almost human-like determination. As if determined not to let anyone take Mara. "Partner, you have to get out of the way. We have to get over," Dr. Andrew Lee shouted, trying to push the dog away with his hands. But it didn't move. Muscle tightness. The roar grew louder and louder. Reverberated in the hallway. Like thunder in the distance. Katie remained calm. "Step forward. Try nudging him with your shoulder." "Come on, go away," he said, but the dog stood firmly. Like a living statue. Resolute and strong. The atmosphere in the hospital changed instantly. Everyone stopped what they were doing. Sick people peeked through the half-open door. There was a tense silence all around. Only the dog's growl and Mara's faint moan break the silence. Where did this dog come from? A cleaner clutches a broom. His eyes were filled with curiosity and fear. Who brought this animal in? A security guard appears in the hallway, with a hard face on his face, with an expression of disbelief. Dr. Andrew Lee and Katie exchanged a look. Confusion and urgency were written all over the face. No one can give an answer. But time is of the essence. Then, something even weirder happened. Mara lay on a stretcher. His face contorted into a mask of pain. He jerked his head up. A voice that did not look like a human voice was heard. It's not moaning, nor is it an ordinary scream. Rather, it was a howl. Long and deep. It's as if the blade of a knife cuts through the air. A few seconds later, the dog responded suddenly. The stretcher was released. Ears pricked up. Start barking. Its cry echoed through the corridors of the hospital. Makes even the most calm patients. I couldn't help but shrink back into the bed. That's impossible, Mara muttered under her breath. His voice was almost overshadowed by the throbs of his body. He turned his head to look at the dog. His eyes were full of pain and exhaustion. The doctor said we would be fine. Don't worry. The dog stared at him for a moment. There was a restless wisdom in his eyes, as if to understand every word of him. Then he took 2 steps back. But he didn't leave. Still standing there, like a silent guardian, quietly watch everything. Andrew Lee shook his head, trying to get rid of the uneasiness that comes with this surreal scenario. Okay, let's go. We don't have time to waste. His voice was steady, although his hands trembled slightly. He and Katie pushed the stretcher harder again. Hurried and rhythmic steps to the floor. They hurried to the delivery room. Dr. Andrew Lee's heart was pounding. The head is full of questions. But right now, he doesn't have time to answer those questions. Who is that dog? How could he be here? But none of this seems to matter anymore. The most important thing right now is the impending delivery. They finally arrived at the delivery room. The team sprang into action. Dr. Andrew Lee quickly put on his surgical gloves. The pulling sound of rubber is there. Echoes in the air. He walked over to Mara. He was gasping for air from exhaustion. Eyes half closed. He looked pained. Mara, you're a few months pregnant. Dr. Andrew Lee asked. Do your best to keep yourself calm. He took a deep breath. The chest rises and falls violently due to labor pain. Intermittently answered. It's been about a few months. Twins, I think. Dr. Andrew Lee frowned, beads of sweat dripping from his forehead. Have you had an ultrasound? Mara shook her head slowly. Tears flowed down her temples. No, I wanted to make him a surprise. His answer was suspended in the air, like a heavy cloud. Dr. Andrew Lee and Katie. A worried look was exchanged. It didn't feel right. The twins did not have prenatal care. The risk is too great. But before they could ask more questions, Mara let out a low moan. Fainted. His hands clutched at the sheets on the stretcher. The knuckles are whitish from excessive force. They're coming. I can feel it. He shouted as he regained consciousness. The body arches with severe pain. No more wasting time. The team quickly prepared him for delivery. Katie took one of Mara's hands. Wanted to give him a little strength. Dr. Andrew Lee was in the delivery position. But when they started, Dr. Andrew Lee noticed something strange. Amniotic water breaks. Contractions are drastic. Ma Ellie's body felt like it was about to crack. But the mouth of the palace was not expanded enough. Mara, you have to be strong. Push as hard as you can. Katie clenched his hand. Encouragingly, Mara closed her eyes. His face was swollen and red from exertion. Pushed it desperately. Twice, 3 times. But there has been no progress. Time seemed to stand still. Every second feels like endless torture. His massive belly looked like it was about to burst. The skin is stretched to the limit. But the baby just doesn't come out. Suddenly, there was a howl outside the hospital. Long and deep. Almost with supernatural powers. Reverberates in the hallways. It was as if a living being had penetrated the walls. At that moment, Mara opened her eyes. Pupils dilated. Raise your head sharply. A singular sound was made. Not moaning. It's not a scream either. Rather, it's a rhythmic and irresistible cry. Filled with raw power. Flooded with delivery rooms. The dog outside responded to his barking. The voice is loud and persistent. It's as if they're having some kind of silent conversation. It is full of deep meaning that only they can understand. Dr. Andrew Lee and Katie were stunned. The instrument in his hand began to tremble. Mara. Dr. Andrew Lee exclaimed in a low voice. But Mara let out another howl. Voices echoed across the cold walls of the hospital. The window panes were creaking with a bang. The dog outside the hospital also responded to his barking. The sound is so loud. even crossed the corridors. It was passed to the upstairs ward. The nurses stopped working. The patients exchanged bewildered glances with each other. Even the security guards in the hall felt a chill. "Climb up from your back. What's going on here?" a janitor asked in a low voice, gripping his trembling glass of water. Katie noticed the strange scene. His heart was racing. "I can't help but mutter, my God." He stared at the newborn baby, trying to figure out what the hell is going on. Mara was still lying on the stretcher. Started screaming again. Meanwhile, the cries of the second baby rang out. Katie felt a chill down her spine. Legs barely hold up. He whispered, "No. That's impossible." His voice was barely audible, with an unspeakable fear. Even before he could finish processing the feelings, Mara began to bark again. The voice grew more and more urgent. That's when it happened. The second baby was finally born. Katie felt a cold air blow down her spine. His eyes were fixed on the new student. Seems to want to figure out what's going on. Want to understand that baby? Why did it make him so frightened? We need to go back 2 years. Everything in the hospital that day. Mara and Joel have been married for over a decade. Initially, their relationship was like a fairy tale, filled with intense love, a promise of intimacy and commitment to each other. As the years passed, reality is like an unbearable weight. It pressed them. Everyday life brings monotonous inertia, awkward silence, and gradual distance, like a crack that no one knows how to repair, slowly spread between them. Love remains, buried in a corner somewhere, but he was no longer enough to fill the void between them. In despair, to rekindle the spark of love, save a broken marriage, they decided to start a family. Having children became their shared dream. They believe it will save their relationship. Many nights, together, they fantasize about the future. Pick a name. Plan your baby's room. But fate seems to have a different arrangement. Despite numerous attempts, expensive treatment, and saw countless specialists, Mara was never able to get pregnant. Every negative test have exacerbated their frustration. A tense mass of emotions is like a rope, strangled their necks. Finally, after a series of examinations, they learn that everything changes and Joel is infertile. This news is no coincidence. Rather, it is the result of years of reckless choices. Joel is a bodybuilder, obsessed with the pursuit of a perfect body type. In order to achieve this goal, he had a chronic overdose on steroids. Warnings, risks, and consequences are completely ignored. His strikingly sculpted figure paid a heavy price. His paternity was completely lost. When the doctor announces the diagnosis, Joel felt the ground collapse beneath his feet. Mara stood beside him and listened quietly. There is no expression on his face, but something inside has been shattered. He didn't say anything, but an unspeakable resentment accumulated in my heart. This emotion spread like a weed in the bottom of his heart. Joel, on the other hand, is deeply guilty. When he looks in the mirror, what is seen is not a strong man, rather a loser. He tried to reach out to Mara, but the words were never spoken. The silence between the two grew deeper. It has become an unbridgeable chasm. Sometimes they don't even make eye contact, sleep in the same bed. It's like strangers separated by invisible walls. Whenever an argument breaks out, it's all a fierce storm, full of accusations and tears of inhibition. The atmosphere was so solemn that it was almost suffocating. It is in this emptiness and despair Mara made a decision, changed the trajectory of their story. A friend noticed the sadness in Mara's body. Tell him that a puppy has just been born recently. The puppies are especially cute. You have to take a look. He said it almost unintentionally. Mara looked at it with curiosity. Didn't expect much. In that litter of puppies, there is a black Labrador puppy. Caught his eye. His eyes were bright when he saw this. It was as if he could see through his soul. When he saw Mara, wagging his tail excitedly, that emotion that is full of life warmed somewhere inside him. When he picked it up for the first time, he felt a joy that he hadn't felt in a long time. It's been a few months for him, even a feeling that has not been felt in years. "Your name is not old," he said to the puppy with a smile, as if he was the answer to all his prayers. However, bringing Brew home was not easy. When Joel comes home from work, when you see a puppy running around in the yard, his face immediately stiffened. His expression was full of anger. "What the hell is this? Spicy?" he asked. "Cross your arms." Muscle tightness. The shirt on his body looked unusually tight. He tried to make his tone lighter, stroking the puppy's head. "It's a patch. I adopted him today." Joel sneered. A spark of anger flashed in his eyes. "You're kidding. Have a dog at home. Any idea what that means?" There was a smell of hair everywhere. "I had to be in the same place as this animal." Mara had a hunch in her heart, but he still tried to say it calmly. "Joel, please look at me. You haven't seen me in years. I'm alone in this house. If you don't talk to me, don't be a partner with me, then I have someone else." These words were sharper than he expected, but they are real. Xiaoer's eyes widened. His face was swollen and red. The anger was almost out of control. "Are you going to replace me with a dog?" he yelled, pointing at Brew. Brew was still wagging his tail happily, uninformed. Mara's voice was filled with sadness and anger. "Maybe he's in those few minutes. Look into my eyes more than you've been in months." The quarrel broke out at that moment. Mara didn't want to argue, but he was tired of being ignored. He picked up Brew, locked into the bedroom. Joel, on the other hand, slammed the door on the outside. "Get that animal out," he shouted outside the door. "Slam your fist on the wooden door." Mara didn't respond. "Just hold the puppy tightly in your arms." Tears ran down his cheeks. At that moment, he decided that Brew would be his companion. It's his safe haven, because of her husband. It seems to be getting more alienated by the day. The days that followed got worse and worse. Once they were relatively wordless. Right now, even a little thing can be the fuse of a quarrel. Joel grew to hate fishing. Think of him as a symbol of the deepening rift between them. "This animal is pulling you farther away from me," he angrily accused. The tone was full of resentment. "Not Joel. You left first," Mara replied coldly. But his heart was filled with pain that he didn't want to see. At one time, they tried to reconcile, tried a tentative kiss, and whispering promises in the dark. But whenever Brew approached, everything is broken again. "You care more about that dog than you care about me," Joel would shout angrily. There was a lot of frustration in the air. Mara, on the other hand, is getting closer and closer to the dog. Brew also grows fast. The black fur sparkles in the sun. Eyes were always on him. In a moment of solitude, Mara began researching canine behavior. Read books on how to communicate with dogs. Watch the video. Check out the article. In the beginning, it was just a pastime. I can't teach some basic commands. For example, sitting down or lying down. But over time, this interest is getting deeper and deeper. It's almost an obsession. He began to observe Brew's expression, the voice he makes, every bark, the meaning behind every howl. Such a deep bond has been created between the two. It's as if it's beyond ordinary communication. One day, while playing in the yard, the unexpected happened. Mara lay on the grass and smiled at Brew. Just a short howl casually. What surprised him? Brew responded. Ears pricked up. Eyes sparkle. Full of curiosity. He frowned. Curious. Another howl. This time it's louder. And Brew immediately imitated him. Voices echoed through the garden. Mara felt a wave of excitement. It's not just about playing. It's a connection. From that day on, he started with canine ones. Voice to train Brew. A long howl came to get his attention. A short bark made him put things down. He always responds with astonishing precision. It seems like between them, developed a secret language that only they understood. a password that only they can decipher. But not everyone sees the situation that way. One night, Joel comes back from the gym, covered in sweat, debilitated. When he walked into the yard, laughter was heard. Mara lay on the grass and barked at Brew bouncing around him, responding to the barking of excitement. The tail wagged like a crazy metronome. Joel's jaw almost dropped. His face was full of disbelief. "Here's what's going on," he asked in a disdainful tone. Mara still looked at him with a smile. "To put it mildly, I'll teach you some more commands," he explained as if this was normal. Joel crossed his arms, his face contorted into a pained expression. "When are you going to start barking at dogs? Are you crazy?" Mara sighed. "Try to stay calm. It started out as a game." But he did react. He pointed at Brew. "Brew is biting on an old slipper." Mara let out a short call. Brew immediately stopped. "Put down your slippers. Sit down." I couldn't take my eyes off him. You see, he follows orders. It's amazing. A sincere smile appeared on his face. However, Joel didn't share his excitement. His expression became even more gloomy. "Clench your fists. This is not normal. Mara, you're behaving like a dog." The quarrel broke out again. But this time Mara didn't back down. "Do you know who is crazy?" "Joel, it's you. The drugs you decided to take at that time ruined our dream of having children. Now you're calling me crazy." His words are like a sharp sword. Every sentence is directed at Joe, the most vulnerable place. Joel's face flushed. Anger and shame are intertwined. "Do you think I don't regret it? If only I had known it would have made me infertile. I would never do it." His voice trembled. The eyes began to moisten. He took a deep breath. "Put your hands on your face," trying to suppress the frustration in your heart. "I know I made a mistake. But you have no idea how much I blame myself every day," he whispered. It's almost a whisper. Then he turned and rushed into the house. Mara was left alone in the yard. A heavy silence weighed down on his heart like lead. That night, Joel made a decision. He began to pack, rough stuffing clothes into the backpack. The face is expressionless. Walked towards Mara like a stone carving. He was sitting in the living room watching TV. He walked up to him and said, "Mara, I have to go." His eyes widened. My heart pounded. "What? What did you say?" he asked, his voice trembling. "We're no longer able to do it. Quarrel every day. Didn't understand each other at all. It's over. It's better for us to be separated." He bowed his head, avoid looking at him. Mara felt like her world was falling apart. He knew he was right. Marriage is in shambles. But the memories of the happy times came flooding back. Their first kiss. The laughter of the past. Plan for the future together. Despite the pain, he still loved her. As Joel turns the doorknob to leave, she jerked behind him, hugged him tightly. "Please, Joel, try again." He choked. Tears soaked his shirt. He hesitated. I closed my eyes and took a deep breath, then turned around slowly. Eyes meet him. "Mara, I know everything is bad, but I love you." The backpack fell to the ground with a thud. They hugged each other tightly. It's as if this one can repair all the cracks. Then, kiss. Cooking with gas. Eager and thirsty. That night, they had sex as they had done before. It's as if love can erase all the pain of the past. But this moment of calm did not last long. The next morning, Joel is used by Brew with teeth, tugging at his socks to wake up. The tail wags like a toy. It's like playing a game with him. Angry, he jumped to his feet, shouting, "Damn dogs." He pushed the dog away with his foot. Rough movements echoed through the room. Mara heard the shouts and rushed into the living room. Eyes wide. His face was full of surprise. "What happened?" "The dog woke me up," he asked. "Are you playing a trick on me?" Joel growled. His face was as red as fire. "Please, Joel. He just wanted to play." Mara tried to calm him down, but Joel's anger exploded. "Good night, you know. This animal has driven me crazy since I came here. The quarrel broke out again. The vicious cycle of blame and resentment kicks in again. But this time things have changed. After a few weeks, Mara began to feel unwell. Frequent dizziness forced him to lean against the wall. Any strong odor, coffee, perfume, even dish soap makes him feel sick. Despite being emotionally distant from each other, Joel noticed it anyway. What happened to you? Mara, you're rolling around with that dog all day. Maybe it's a bacterial infection. There was more concern in his tone, not accusations. He rolled his eyes. Of course, it's all the fault of not working, he retorted. But the symptoms did not abate. At the suggestion of a friend, he decided to do a maternity dipstick test himself. Mara held the test strip. Hands are shaking. When he sees a positive result, he almost fell. The eyes were full of shock. No, it can't be, he muttered to himself. Rapid heartbeat. Joel is infertile. Doctors have confirmed this. How could this happen? He was still in shock. But he decided to take the news as a surprise. He wanted to believe it was a miracle, a divine gift. The wounds of their marriage can be repaired. That afternoon, Mara left home. It's been a long time since I've been out. He bought a pair of white baby shoes at a small store. I returned home full of plans. That night, he carefully set the table. Candles were lit, spread a beautiful tablecloth, and placed the baby shoes in the center of a covered tray. He hoped for this moment. It can be an unforgettable memory. Joel comes home from the gym, debilitated. As soon as you see this romantic setting, he frowned. What's going on? Is there anything special about this dinner? He asked suspiciously. Mara smiled, trying to hide the tension inside. This is to commemorate a new chapter in our marriage. There was a slight tremor in his voice. Joel tilted his head. Looks a little confused. A new chapter? All right. But why? He asked, uncovering the lid of the tray. You'll find out, he replied, his eyes twinkling. Joel hesitated, but the lid was slowly lifted. The tiny pair of shoes appeared in front of him, delicate and small, placed in the center of the tray. He froze. His eyes were fixed on the shoes and he couldn't speak. Before he could speak, Mara lifted her blouse. His belly, which was already slightly bulging, was revealed. Written in red lipstick, I'm pregnant. Joel's face turned pale. The eyes gradually lose color. What a joke this is. Spicy? He asked, almost in a low voice. The spicy tears couldn't help but flow. He had a smile on his face. This is no joke. I'm pregnant. Joel, his voice was full of emotion. Joel kept blinking, shaking his head as if trying to wake up from a dream. That's impossible. We've tried for years. The doctor said I was infertile. All the tests showed that I was unable to have children. Mara grabbed his hand. Hold their fingers tight. Entangled. Maybe it's a miracle. Maybe God has given us this gift to change our lives. His voice was full of hope. Joel stared at him for a long time. He knows everything about Mara. His habits, his daily routine, his every move. He knew he would never betray her. But how is this possible? His eyes were full of tears. The body also began to tremble. He knelt down and hugged her belly. He kissed her gently. Oh my God, I never thought this would happen. His voice choked. Brew walked into the room from a distance, slowly wagging his tail into Joel. Joel didn't push him away for the first time. Instead, he reached out and stroked the dog's head. This simple action, it carries an incomparably heavy meaning. It was at that moment. Everything seems to have turned out to be flawless. A family that is being rebuilt. A dream that rises from the ashes. But as usual, the peace did not last long. A few months later, Mara's pregnancy progressed rapidly. Brew became closer to him, became his silent guardian, seems to understand everything that is happening. Whenever Mara sits down, Brew would rest his head on his stomach. eyes glued. It's like listening to a baby's heartbeat. However, Joel began to feel a growing sense of unease. Whenever he approached Brew would let out a low growl, teeth exposed. Sharp eyes stared at him, as if to warn him. This dog is a bit of a blame for Mara. One night he watched the animals lie on the couch. He said. Mara smiled and stroked her loose hair. He just wants to protect us, he replied lightly. Joel couldn't shake the feeling of unease. Mara's belly was growing too fast, far beyond the normal range. He's disproportionately large. It is almost impossible to carry a typical pregnancy. Worse, Mara refused. An ultrasound is done. What I wanted was a surprise, he said excitedly. However, Joel didn't see this as a surprise. Rather, it is seen as a mystery that made him more and more uneasy. Whenever he walked into the room, Mara is seen lying on the couch, when barking or howling with Brew on his back. A cold sweat would break down his spine. Brew responded with great eagerness. Keep licking his belly. It seems to be saying something that only he can detoxify. Joel's inner paranoia began to spread like a poisonous weed. What if this child is not mine? He began to ask himself unconsciously, despite his efforts to keep these ridiculous thoughts down. But they grew stronger. Every day, he couldn't ignore these thoughts. Until the 9th month of pregnancy, he couldn't take it anymore. Mala, is this kid mine? He finally couldn't help it. Asked the question he shouldn't have asked. Spicy's eyes widened. His face was full of shock. What do you mean, Joel? His voice trembled. Unbelievable. Joel took a deep breath. Press your hands on your temples. Look at your belly. Something is wrong. Joel's gaze fell on Brew. Brew lay quietly next to Mara. He felt a pang of unease. He said in a low tone, You refuse to have an ultrasound. Mara, he paused, eyes fixed on Brew, suddenly realized the possible implications. A cold shiver came from all over him. Joel, you wouldn't be thinking about anything, Mara asked in a low voice. His voice was filled with irrepressible anger. He covered his face. Emotions spiraled out of control. This is not normal. Mara, that dog never leaves you. He roared at me. You bark at him. He licks your belly. I try not to think about it, but it's all so weird. Anger erupted like a volcano. Mara struggled to her feet, twinkle in the eye. In a fit of rage, do you dare to say such crazy things? He roared. Tears blurred his eyes. Emotional, out of control. The voice was tinged with anger. The quarrel escalated violently. Sharp words flew around each other like knives. What are you accusing me of? You know I never left home. I am loyal to you, Mara shouted with tears in her eyes. Completely overwhelmed by emotion, Joel grabbed his stuff and shouted, I go to the gym. I need to calm down. He slammed the door. The door slammed shut. Echoes echoed through the house like thunder. Mara stood there. The heart is like a knife. There was a heavy stone in his throat. He tried to get up and walk to the bathroom. But when it comes to taking the first step, he suddenly felt a warm liquid run down the legs. He froze. The amniotic water broke. Panic quickly took over his body. He trembled and searched for his phone. Wanted to call Joel, but I couldn't find it. Shortness of breath. Despair is rising. He looked down at Brew. Those bright eyes were looking straight at him. Don't get old, he exclaimed in a faint voice. The dog barked. Run to the shelf. Pick up the keychain in her mouth and hand it to him. That's the car keys. Mara struggled to open the door with the pain of each step. Dragged himself and sat in. Brew jumped into the passenger seat. Mara shuddered and started the car. Drive towards the hospital. He trembled all over. The mind spins between fear and hope. That's where the story begins. When Mara gives birth in the delivery room, something else happened out there. Brew heard Mara's last howl, rushed out of the hospital like lightning, dashed through the block. Agility avoids moving vehicles and passers-by. He had only one goal in mind. Mara's command. He knew it. Find Joel. The dog kept running. The claws slammed into the pavement. That is until he arrives at the gym where Joel is. The gym was overcrowded. Falling dumbbells and whispered conversations fill the air. Joel is doing push-ups in the corner. Sweat soaked through his clothes. He wants to go through every movement. To relieve the troubles in your heart. Suddenly, he felt something tugging on his trouser leg. Taken aback, he looked down. Brew was found biting his pant leg tightly with his teeth. His eyes sparkled eagerly. Brew, why are you here? Joel asked, frowning. Brew let go of his mouth. Sit down. There was a long, deep howl. The sound pierced the noise of the gym. A chill ran down Joel's spine. He sensed something was wrong. Brew screamed again, tugging at his trouser leg, apparently insisting that he follow. Brew, wait a minute. Joel's heart fluttered. His heart was racing. Stand up without hesitation. Quickly ran out after Brew. I kept thinking about what happened to Mara. He hated himself for leaving him alone. Brew led Joel through the street. Run to the hospital quickly and accurately. In the delivery room, the second baby was born. Katie holds the freshman in her hands. Hands trembled slightly, but seeing that the child is healthy and safe, breathe a sigh of relief. The child cried loudly. Spread throughout the room. Mara was tormented by fatigue. I've fainted. Dr. Andrew Lee is still in the shock of a previous fainting. Make an effort to get up from the floor. Blurred eyes. Trying to regain composure. He walked over to Katie. Looked down at the twins side by side. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration flashed through his mind. The first child. The kid who made me faint. He looked at his face. He was found to have a thin layer of hair. The hair is longer than the average new one. He suddenly remembered that it was hirsutism, a rare symptom. He couldn't help but be stunned. The second child looked normal. That's when it happened. Joel burst in, panting. The eyes were full of eagerness. What about my wife? Where is my wife? He shouted. There was despair in his eyes. He saw Mara lying on a stretcher. Pale face. Debilitated. Hurriedly ran over. Brew followed. Stop at the door. When Joel saw the two children, he didn't feel the doctor's panic. His eyes filled with tears. The heart is full of love. They were perfect, he said, his voice choked. Kneel next to Mara. Kissed her hand tenderly. Mara woke up. See his children. Tears finally welled up. Brew watched them from afar. 3 muffled dog barks. As if celebrating with them. This moment. Dr. Andrew Lee was still a little curious. Turning to Joel, he asked if he were the father of the child. Joel nodded. Keep your eyes firmly on the children. Have you ever used any hair growth medications? The doctor asked, frowning. Joel blinked in confusion. Well, I used it for a few months. What's wrong with minoxidil? The doctor sighed. Breathe a sigh of relief. Indicates understanding. I see. Your son has hirsutism. This is because of the period of pregnancy. Side effects of too much hormone in the mother's body. Minoxidil causes this phenomenon. The doctor's words made Joel's heart almost burst. He is healthy. Hair falls out over time. Joel's eyes widened. Pure fear swept over him in an instant. His mouth was open. There was a silent scream, until the voice finally broke through the silence. It erupted into an earth-shattering shout. Reverberated throughout the hospital. Joel didn't think about it. Hands the child to Katie suddenly. The body shook, until he lost consciousness and fell to the floor. The sound of falling on the floor was taken by him. The screams of their own swallowed up the echoes of the screams. Even the barking of the dogs outside suddenly stopped.